Hi, I'm on with Ron Brown from HGSI, and Ron had a great idea about using the seasonality templates in EdgeRater. And while we were at Jeffrey's Florida Summit last weekend, he told me about this idea of using the industry groups and trying to get seasonality for industry groups by exporting them from HGSI. So I'm on with Ron Brown, and he's going to go through the steps that are necessary to export your industry groups from HGSI to get 10 years worth of data for use with the seasonality templates. So, hi Ron.
Hi, Chris. Now, I wasn't at Jeffrey's workshop. I had other commitments, but Chris was kind enough to correspond with me when he had some time when I came up with this idea of using his seasonality template with industry groups from HCSI, and they work very well together. So we're going to take you through the process. I'm going to do this portion on HCSI, and then I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and he will take you through the EdgeRater portion. Now, one thing about HGSI is if you've worked with it for a while, you know it's extremely flexible and can do a lot of things. And there's a lot of power here that we often overlook and added benefits. And one of those added benefits is using metastock data, and that allows us to export the industry groups from HCSI and use them in other programs. And the other program in this instance is, of course, EdgeRater. So let me show you what I came up with here. And I did it with Chris's help. I wasn't able to quite figure this out on my own, but it's really pretty simple once you do it once. So I am in my designer in HGSI, and you can see that I'm going down to the industries and sectors. Now, we can't use these reference groups because it has to be converted to an industry group. And to do this, this is very simple. From the industries and sectors grouping, I will select the industries, drag them down to my user group, and I will say no because I'm going to change the date, so I don't need to generate the indexes right now. But I do want to identify this, so I'm going to just put a comma and put 10 years in here so I know what is in my industries group. And then I'm going to right mouse click and select group properties. I will click on the index tab, and I'm going to use these settings for this index. I will just leave it on equal dollar weighted. You also have other options, market value weighted and so on, which I use sometimes. But for this, I'll just leave it on equal dollar weighted. And then I'm going to change the date. I want it 01, 02, and 2004 because I want 10 years of data. And then I will click on OK, and now I'm going to build these indexes. I didn't build the indexes before, so there's nothing here. So I have to make sure I am selected. I am still in this folder. I'll select Tools and Build Index, and it is building the index. It's taking each stock that's contained in the groups, and it's weighting them with equal dollar weighting. This just takes, well, it doesn't take very long if you have a solid state drive, which I do, and I think more and more people are getting them. So it's almost finished here. Okay, so now we have an index. How do I know? If I bring up a chart, it shows the index. Had I brought that chart up before, there would be no index there. Now, the next thing I have to do is I have to reselect this folder, and I'm going up to the File menu, selecting ASCII Utilities and Export Groups as List. What EdgeRater needs is a list of the symbols, and HCSI, when they export these, or when it exports the symbols, it assigns unique symbols to each of the industries. Now, notice that it is taking the title of the index, that I put in here, and it is going to export it to um, EdgeRater. Now, you don't want to include the subgroups, and you don't want to exclude HDSI indexes, and you do want the symbol and name. Now, one thing that I should do, and I'm going to cancel this right now, and let's go down. What happens when you build these industries? There's a 10-year industry in here. That's what I named it. So I'm going to go down here. I don't want to export that index. So, Chris, do you see it? Right here.
Yeah,
Here it is.
there it is.
There it is right there. So just highlight it, click the delete key, and it's gone. Now I'm going to go back and go through that process again. I meant to delete that originally, but okay. Let's go to export groups as lists, and it's going into the users documents folder under EdgeRater, symbol list, and the title of the index. And make sure that these are unchecked and the format is symbol name, and it's done that quickly. Now, Chris is going to take it from here.
Well, you need to do the metastock export first, and then I'll take it from there. Because you've exported the symbols, so we have a list of all of the index symbols.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I forgot to do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's I'm glad you caught that. Okay, so let's export the groups. This is one of the most important things, and I forgot that I was going to do this portion, but I have to. Okay, so it's just C. Metastock data, is that what you suggest, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, people can choose whatever folder they want to export the metastock in metastock format to, but I tend to use C:\metastock data. Just it makes it easier to find if I put it right in the root of the C drive.
Okay, and I agree with you.
Okay, no.
And make sure that you deselect include all subgroups. If you leave the subgroups in there, it's going to export every security within those groups, and you don't need those. So make sure that that is not selected. Now, my volume scaling is set to 100, and Chris, did you leave yours on 1?
Yeah, I have mine set to 1. I don't think
really
it matters.
Doesn't matter. Okay, well that's good for everybody to know. So the default, I believe, is 1. Just leave it at 1. And the number of securities per folder here, 255. We have 197 industry groups, as you can see. I didn't mean for that to pop down, but okay. Now, you can change this to 6,000 if you want to, which would allow you to export 6,000 metastock symbols, but since we only have 197, I'm going to leave it on 255. I know that may be a little confusing, but this is the default, and that's all you need. So let's go ahead and do that, and when I export, it is exporting those 10 years that quickly. And that's all there is to it.
Okay.
Now, Chris is going to take it from here.
Yeah, so you've done the HDSI side, and let me just sort of review what you did. You created your indexes. You got 10-year index for all of your industry groups. You exported them in metastock format, so they exist now on the file system in C:\metastock data, and you also exported the symbol names because HDSI gives the indexes a special name when it exports them, and we put that into the EdgeRater symbol lists directory. So now what I'm going to do is run EdgeRater, and we'll see how to view that data within EdgeRater. So I'm going to take control of the computer, and let me just pause the video while I do that. Okay, so now I'm in EdgeRater, and by default I have the weekly options list set in here, but because we exported the industry groups as lists, I now have them in here as a text file, industries.txt. If I select that, you don't see any symbols in here, and you only see symbols in the left hand side if you have data associated with those symbols. and there's a step we need to go through to make sure that we can pick up that data from Metastock. And the first step is to go into the data providers and click on Metastock and choose the folder location that we did the Metastock export to, which was C:/Metastock data. And I'll just click OK there. So
now, Chris, you didn't select Metastock.
Yeah, so that's a thing. You don't actually have to put a check mark by.
Oh, you don't?
No, the check mark just denotes which provider you're going to use as your default provider.
Oh,
So
okay.
any list can override the default provider, but I would leave the check mark set to whatever you use predominantly for your data. So I use HGSI and you use HGSI, so I have my check mark set next to HGSI.
Okay, so just by selecting that field that says Metastock, that's when you get the directory to pop up then. Okay.
Yeah. So I can.
All right.
Yeah, I can. So what it means is whenever I set an individual symbol list now to refer to Metastock, it's going to get the Metastock data from this folder here.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that, but now I am. Thank you.
That's good to know. All right. So now I'll click on the little edit icon by the symbol lists, and what I will do is select first of all. You see what's happened here is it's put the data provider being HGSI because that's the default. I'm going to override it for this symbol list to be Metastock. I'm also going to set my data update options to be 10 years because we exported 10 years of data. We want to make sure we have that for seasonality. And then I'm just going to click update data. And what it's doing now, and what it did, was it just went to that Metastock folder and it extracted the data and it put it into this symbol list as a data snapshot. And you can see that we've got data from June 29th, 2004 to June 27th, 2014. Even though Ron exported more data than that, because I only had 10 years set in here, I only got that amount of data. If I set this to be 11 years and do the same thing, you see now we've got the full amount of data that was exported when we did the export. I'll leave it set to that.
Now, Chris, one thing I shouldn't have, but when I created my folder, I named my industries 10 years, so I know what was there. And yours is industries text.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out. That not to confuse people.
Right. So yeah, if I had done the same, and if I had renamed mine to industries, 10 years, that would have appeared in here. But I just exported mine as industries.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was saying before that is somewhat confusing is the symbol for each of these industries is a random set of characters. So you can't tell by looking at the symbol what the industry is. You have to go and look at the description. Okay?
Now, Chris, I'm not sure about this, but occasionally when you export, do those symbols sometimes change?
I believe that HGSI tries to keep them the same for each of the industries.
The only reason I say that, and I probably shouldn't even bring it up, is at some point, I've been exporting Metastock data for a long time for different programs, and sometimes I notice that there will be a symbol change, but
right.
I don't know.
So if there is a symbol change, in order to sync up with that symbol change, you would also have to export the list again, and then it would get the right list, and it would be associated with the right data point within Metastock.
Now, you will get an error. You will get a message after you export each day about Metastock files, and if there is a change, you will be notified.
Okay, that's good to know. And what I often do is frequently, in fact, I'll go to the root of my drive. I'll go to that Metastock folder, and let me just bring that up here. And here's where I exported mine to, Metastock data. What I'll often do is just go and delete this whole folder and and re-export again from HGSI, and that way it will just get all the latest fresh data.
Yeah, I do that too. That's a really good idea, because you'll notice that if you export a long list of stocks, that a lot of stocks just disappear. they're absorbed. Companies are absorbed and so on. So I do that, once a month, if not more.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Okay, so it looks like we have a list updated. We've got 198 items in this list. One of the items was actually
Well, you see, you didn't. I deleted that industries index in mine. That's why
that's
you have
right.
198.
That's
So
right.
that's the difference. There it
Right.
is, right there on the top.
Oh yeah, industries index. And it's
Right.
not, I don't think it matters so much in here. You'll see that it will actually now be included as part of the seasonality, but I think it's okay. We can
Oh,
ignore
I
it.
do. I do too. It's not a necessary step.
Right. Okay, so what we'll talk now about doing is trying to find what seasonality is associated with the different industries. And what I will do, I'll look at the 3 month seasonality template. I'll make sure I have that list selected, and then I'll go and press run. And it will quickly go through this whole list of industries. And let me just close these panels down and we can see what's going on and what comes to the top. Now let's look, for instance, we're just about to start July, so why don't we click on the up for July. And this is a 3 month template, and what that means is starting in each of these months. So for instance, now I'm looking at July. What it's saying is starting July and going out 3 months, so that would be from the 1st of July to September the 30th. These are the statistics for all of the prior years that were in that data set. So the last 10 years of data. We have the one that comes to the top of the list is, and this is where you can't really tell what the group is without having a description column in here, which we don't have right now, but I will look at adding that in. For now, what we have to do to see the name of the industry group is double click on the industry, brings up a chart, and the chart has the name indicated up here. And then what I'll do is I'll just select, let me just choose a view that is not cluttered at all, and see if I have created a view in here. Or what I can actually do is just delete a couple of these windows here, because what I want to do is just collapse this right down to make it small, so that all we really see is the name of the index. And I'll just put
That's a good idea.
this up the top here and make sure it's on top. Okay, so now as I scroll through these different industries, we can always see what the name is. Okay, so the thing that came to the top is for July, and the top in terms of the number of years that it had an up year is managed care index, which had, out of the last 10 years, 9 of the years between July and September were up years, and one of those years was a down year, and the average gain over that period was 2%. Now you could also sort it by average. So now I've sorted by average, and the thing that comes to the top is, let me just application software index. So what it's saying is that for July, August and September, for each of the prior 10 years, application software has gone up an average of 12%. Does that make sense, Ron?
Yes, it does. And that group, as I've been using ACSI every day, you can see on the right-hand side that this group has been weak recently. See where it's fallen off?
In the chart, you mean?
Yes, in the chart.
Yeah.
See where it's sold off over the past week and a half or 2 weeks.
Oh, down here, yeah.
Yeah, in my stocks and groups moving down, this group has been moving down. But if we're coming into seasonality for it, we need to, we will see, I should say, that during the next 3 months, if that kind of reverses course and goes up. Of course, the market has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But historically, we can see that it's performed well going forward from July in what 6 out of the last 10 years.
Yeah, 6 up years, 4 down years, but the average was 12%. So even if you take into account the 4 down years, it still had an average of 10%. So maybe it's sort of volatile, but it's quite a high number to have there over 3 months.
So what's the next group, Chris?
Okay, the next group is textile.
Well, then that's not too exciting, but
Okay, let's go down one more. Precious metal mining.
okay. Well, we've seen a rally recently in that. You can see that on the chart.
Yeah. In fact, it's useful to have this chart up, not just for the name, but it's actually useful to see what's been going on recently, right?
Yes, it's good. Now let's go back and look at the prior month on that one. On June, it says, well, right there shows a 5% gain. 6 out of 10 years, it was positive,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen it positive here in June. So you can look back too. I mean, I realize we're using a 3-month time period now, but you can do it month by month also.
Right.
On your template.
Yep, you can. In fact, one of the templates that's useful for what's happening right now is called Now. It's under the annual trends category, which is the seasonality category. It's called Now, and if we run on the Now, it's taking from essentially the next trading day and pushing it out for various periods of time. Like 2 weeks up through 6 months. So now let me sort by the 3 months, and we should get similar things coming to the top because we're coming into the beginning of July. So let's bring this down, and we see that we have textiles is at the top of the list.
That was one of the other groups prior.
Yeah, we've got precious metal mining.
Okay, and we were just looking at that one.
Yep, application software. So the same things that
right.
Coming to the top.
Let's look at the next couple that say 12%.
Okay, we've got paper manufacturing.
Oh, don't care about that too much.
Okay, and it had more down years than up years, but obviously the up years were strong. And then we're on concrete.
Let's keep going just a little bit here.
Bio.
There's what I'm looking for. I want to see what the biotechs are doing because they have been rallying. So that tells us over a 3-month period, over the last 10 years, they've had 8 up years and 2 down years with an 11% gain. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, now.
Oh, and I should say, Ron, a nice thing here is because we're now looking from a particular date going forward, you take this whole row, and you can sort of get a profile, if you like, of of what happened over that pushing out for the different periods. So, for instance, after 2 weeks it was 2% up. After 1 month it was 4%. After 2 months it was 3%, 11, 6, 7, 15. So, it gives you a little bit of a profile of the time period.
Well, that's great. So the biotech is in vogue right now, and we're seeing that on the chart, and
right.
It looks like going forward. Am I reading that correctly? Going forward, it's positive.
Going forward for the next 3 months, it is positive. That's true. Going forward for the next 2 weeks, it's positive. Going forward for the next 1 month, it actually doesn't get. It's not negative for any of these time periods from this point on.
Okay, now the next thing we should do, and I don't know if you're ready to do this, is bring up HGSI, and you can export that biotech index as individual stocks, and then see which ones are the best seasonality performers.
Okay, well, let's do that. That's I mean, that would be the way that you would use this. I think you would find your best index, find your best industry group, and then once you've found that, you want to find the stocks that are in having seasonality come in their favor. That might be a good way to pick stocks, and then maybe use other criteria to choose stocks.
Right, and in HGSI, we see the strength in the biotechs. I mean, like with that stocks and groups moving up, they've been strong. So you can approach it from either way. If you see the strength in HGSI, then you can come into your program and check out the seasonality.
Right.
Looking forward. So they work hand in glove, really. That's great.
So I've come into HDSI now, and I'm looking at the under industries, and I'm looking at biotech. That's that index we were looking at. And all I have to do now is just go File, and this time I don't have to do the export to Metastock, because what EdgeRater is able to do is read the data directly from the HDSI database. The only reason I had to do the Metastock export for the indexes is that the indexes, you can't read them directly from the HDSI database. You have to export them first. But for the stocks, I'll just do ASCII utilities export group as list. I'll put it into, it's already set up to the right folder under EdgeRater symbol lists, and I'll just click OK. And then it should just appear under here, under biotech, and I need to make sure I have my provider set to HDSI, which it is, and then data update options, I want to change that to be 11 years, and I'll say refresh or update data, and this time it's going to go directly to the HDSI database to get the data. You can see it's building the data, and now we have 11 years of data for the stocks that have 11 years of data. For some of them, like applied genetic technology, it doesn't have 11 years of data. It starts on 327, and we can always sort this by the amount of data when the data starts, so you can see what stocks have more data. So now I have biotech set. I can run this template again, and now we'll look at 3 months again, and we'll see that, let's see what's up here. So ABIO. Alright, so that's a penny stock. The number here is a little bit exaggerated, and I probably would ignore something like that. But as we go down through the list, we'll find things that have high average percentage gain, and also we have to look at the numbers, right? So here we're looking at a 1 and 0, which means there's only 1 year of data for that.
Yeah, it might be best in this instance to sort on the up column.
Yeah, I agree.
And forget the percentages.
Right.
And that way we have stocks with a history.
Yeah. So I was sorting by up. You then see PCYC, and that had 10 up years and 1 down year over those 11 years, and at the average of 21% gain.
So could you make that chart a little larger? Let's take a look at this technically.
Yeah.
Whoops. Okay, there we go. Okay, you can see that it's 1, 2. It's got a triple bottom right now. It's sold off hard, and it's almost a quadruple bottom. If it bounces off of here with some volume, there's a good chance it's going to go back up.
Mm-hmm. And we can take a look at the layout. Maybe you want to see something like Code Blue, for instance.
Code Blue would be good. It's going to be Code Red at this point, but
yep, it's definitely Code Red. Did have a pocket pivot, came in on Friday, but yeah, it's too early right now. It's
sure, but it's certainly worth watching because it is consolidating, and if it's had that type of seasonality, it's worth putting in a watch list.
Absolutely. And actually, you don't even need to add it to a separate list, because when you come into this program, it will always be in your template. If you just run the template tomorrow, it will still be in that list.
Okay,
so,
good.
So that's a good way to keep an eye on these things.
Chris, while we're in here, could you click on weekly, please, on your chart?
Yeah, sure.
Let's just take a look. Oh, that doesn't. Here you go.
How's that?
Okay, now let's scroll back to the right to show all the data.
Okay, we're seeing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I see. Okay, you were there. All right, so it's finding long-term support too now. If you put your crosshair up there,
just here,
and you look like right in there. I mean, there's another congestion area where there was support. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep, a couple of support areas there, I guess.
Right.
In that area.
Yeah, right there. Okay.
Okay, so that's PCYC, and let me just put it back onto the daily view and expand it up a little bit. So PCYC, and then I'll shrink this window up to here, and let's look through some of the others. We have Regeneron, pharmaceuticals had 9 up years and 2 down years with 17% average.
Look at the multiple bottoms on their support area too. It's a very, it hasn't fallen like the other one did, but it's finding support here.
Mm-hmm. Seattle genetics. Yeah. So what we've figured out then is that the biotech index is coming into seasonality, and these are the top stocks in terms of seasonality within that index. So these would be things to watch for the next 3 months in terms of seasonality, and if any of the technicals make sense, maybe that would make a good entry point.
Yeah, several of them have been beaten down, or they're well off their highs anyway.
Which is great, really, right? Because that gives room to move, and if it's turning into a season for those for these stocks, then that is a good opportunity, I think.
Okay, now bringing HGSI into this, could you flip back to HGSI?
Yeah.
With that same biotech index, and let's go into a warehouse view.
Okay.
And I want you to. Do you have the Woodward and Brown stuff on there? I hope.
Well, let me flip to your screen, and then you can show some of the things on there.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think
on your end?
No, I think we're good for this. We've shown how to use the templates and do the industry group export. So we'll go ahead and flip to your screen now.
Okay.
Okay, and 1 second, and yeah, we're live on your screen.
Okay, we're back on my computer now. I have selected the biotech index. I'm going to click through to the warehouse view, and I just happen to have it. Well, let me go to a. These are the Woodward and Brown files. Under the demand supply, it's under the number 1 folder. Here's the base index, top-down analysis. But I use these demand folders, or demand views, I should say. This one limits it to stocks $5 and above, the 02, and trading at least 250,000 shares. And you can see that it cuts it down immediately to 62 stocks, and it's sorted on raw combo. And this is really a short-term view of the strength in this biotech group. And notice that Gilead is on top when I'm sorted on the raw combo. And this is using my standard demand-supply combo, which is the same combo I use in the stocks and groups moving up. So what this tells me immediately is where the short-term strength is in these biotech stocks. And if we look at Gilead, you can see that the force index crossed over 7 days ago, 0 being the crossover day, and the 13 crossed over, this is the 13-day force crossover, 3 days ago. So I'll just bring up that chart, and you can see that it has had a nice move off of the bottom already, and then it went into this consolidation phase, and now it's showing a lot of strength, and it's reflected by coming up to the top of the list, which is also accounting for this and also some fundamentals and so on. But this is a quick way to see where the strength and weakness is in the groups. Now I'm just going to flip down to one of my other charts, which I use a lot. This is the one that Ian and I use a lot. It has what we call the Kahuna force, because it combines the force indexes up here, the 13 and the 2, and this shows you the actual trigger points right here. And here is a Kahuna, the blue bar. This green bar indicates that the Kahuna fired and the force index 2 fired. So that would be a very early entry on this stock. Notice that this is black, which means it's positive, and the red line went above the 0 line, which is a signal the force is moving, and Ian's kahuna, which is the percent move in the Bollinger Bands of greater than or equal to 0.24. So it shows that there's buying interest is what it shows. And then it went sideways, came down here, notice how it held support. But what you're really seeing in addition to this is the group strength, this line right here. So we know the group is going up, and this has been one of the leaders. How do I know? Because look at these candles compared to the group here. It was one of the early movers. And if we went back in time, I am sure that we would find that it was moving up. Here was the initial force index crossover here. See the red line? And then that was confirmed right here with the 13 crossing. We didn't have a kahuna at this point, but we had both force indexes firing. So anyway, these are some of the things that I look at. But my point is you can see the short-term strength there. Now, if I go down to the bottom here, let's look at this one. Because of the combo rank sort, its number is 512.42 compared to 1103.87 up here. And this would be the worst fit or one of the poorer groups, poorest stocks in the short term. It's going down, the group is going up. So it's just as you work your way down the list, the candidates become less desirable. And of course, we're always looking for crossover days based upon the force 2, and the zeros indicate stocks that are crossing over today. Now, I don't want to extend this video any longer than it is, but if you use HDSI in conjunction with the seasonality, I think you have a really powerful combination here. And this is a quick way to find the strong stocks, or the ones that are moving.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. It's a good technique.
Yeah, so
okay.
boy, they just work great. I didn't pay much attention to seasonality before you put this out there, Chris, but I think it's a great addition.
Yeah, thanks. It's people are liking the way that it's presented, and I mean in terms of looking at seasonality, it's quick, it's cheap, and it gives you a lot of information. So I think that's what people gravitate towards.
And by bringing the groups into it, because HDSI and all of us who use it are so group oriented. I'm looking at the groups as much as stocks, if not more. So if we can see what's happening within the groups, then we can quickly narrow it down to the stocks that maybe either are leading or are emerging.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's also good because it's some information that not everybody, very few people have that information. So if you have HDSI and you have HRater, you can put that information together and be ahead of the game, I think.
No, I agree. I mean, this is something I just stumbled upon with the groups. I mean, you provided the template in the program, and as everybody knows, if you follow us, my job is to figure out how to get the most out of HDSI, and working with EdgeRater, this is just, it's a great combination.
Yeah, you're always finding new ways to do things in HDSI. It's very impressive. And do you want to, if you want to hear more of Ron and Ron and Ian do a twice a year seminar in Palos Verdes. When's the next one coming up?
October 18th, 19th, and 20th, I believe, are the dates. It's that weekend. And you'll be there, won't you, Chris?
I will be there. I love going to that meeting.
And you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about seasonality with your portion of it. And we're going to add some other techniques too, in addition to doing this. I mean, we can screen for seasonality, and we can do other screens within EdgeRater and HGSI also. But those are things we'll get into at the seminar.
Yeah, it sounds good, and it's always good to go to LA area that time of year because the weather's always nice too. It's definitely worthwhile going. And I hope.
Plus, we always have a lot of fun.
We have a lot of fun. Yeah, we see a lot of familiar faces. And I think everybody who goes there really appreciates the information, and Oftentimes people say they pay for the trip with within the next week after, within the trades that they make based on recommendations and things they've heard within the seminar.
Well, I think with all these additional techniques and tools, it's even going to get better. So
Yeah.
anyway, anything else, or should we wrap it up?
I think we're good. We're good for now. We'll come back and do some other techniques at some other point though, hopefully.
Sure. No, we'll expand upon this. I mean, there's always something new to learn and do. And we've there's always a lot of competition out there, but I mean, HDSI and EdgeRaider, we can do things that nobody else can do, and they wouldn't even attempt to do them. So.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, Chris. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye bye.